Good morning, Jai Hind, and welcome to Gyanonymous School National Security Life. We had been discussing about the National Counter-Terrorism Policy and Strategy of India, that is acronymed as PRAHAR. In the last video, we have discussed the premises which led to PRAHAR, and we also discussed a bit of the first element of PRAHAR, or that is prevention. So before I go with this video, I would like to request our viewers kindly to switch on to 1.5x for your better experience. So now let's move ahead with the prevention. So as we learned that prevention means it is the first pillar of PRAHAR is prevention. It is, as we have discussed, it is on the principle that the base terrorist attack is one that never happens. Actually, there is nothing called base terrorist attacks. It has always been the worst terrorist attack. But from the point of view of counter-terrorism, the base terrorist attack that is the one attack which never happened. So PRAHAR, actually, to achieve this, PRAHAR stresses intelligence-led policing and improved coordination among various intelligence agencies. PRAHAR highlighted multi-agency centers, or MAC, and even subsidiary multi-agency centers, SMAC, at the state and district level, and joint task force on intelligence for sharing and also analyzing of intelligence before the threat materialize. So prevention is very important in PRAHAR, and in preventing any attack, in preventing any terrorist attack, the importance of intelligence is utmost. And the agency who takes actions of such intelligence, the readiness and experience and effort of the implementing agency is utmost important. So intelligence, from the first pillar of prevention, we have learned that intelligence is the first line of defense for India in terms of counterterrorism, or in terms of counterterrorism strategy. So intelligence, hereby we got to know that intelligence is the first line of defense in terms of prevention. We have seen that in various examples. Yesterday we had discussed, unfortunately I had to wrap up yesterday's lectures very abruptly. I'm sorry for that. Something actually unfortunate happened, but it's okay. So that is what prevention is. Next, coming to our another pillar, that is response. When response come when prevention fails. The intelligence agencies, the whole establishment, it tries to prevent the attack, it tries to prevent terrorism events, but even though sometimes when they are not successful, the attack unfortunately happens. So when the attack happens, when prevention fails, the next pillar is response. So a modern response, what requires a modern response? PRAHAR deals with it. A modern response actually requires a seamless coordination among various forces like local police, with state anti-terror squads, or special task force, maybe with central armed police forces, and sometimes the army too. Also, from investigation point of view, coordination among national investigation agency, and that is a national forensic, central forensic laboratories, CFL and SFL, CFL and CSFLs. And these role of these agencies is very important in terms of investigation, as well as local police also very much into investigation. However, when it is a large scale or prominent terrorist attack, NIA nowadays takes the lead role of investigation to any terror related case. Coming to the role of National Security Guard, or NSG. NSG is a specialized force for counter terror and and urban warfare. It is designed to respond quickly in certain events of counter-terrorism, in certain events of terrorism actually. Sorry. So coordination of national security, coordination with national security guard is also important in the response of terrorism. So PRAHAAR actually emphasizes the clearly defined procedures and coordinated action during any terrorist incident, so that the agencies can respond rapidly and very effectively in a very coordinated way. So we have seen that in incidents like 26/11 Mumbai deadliest attack, we have seen how state police have responded, how NSC had responded, how other forces like CRPF have responded, local administration responded. So we did have very good coordination at that time, and individually each force did its best, from Mumbai police to anti-terror squad to NSG. Everyone did it best, but we want to improve it to a more coordinated effort through this PRAHAAR counter-terrorism, national counter-terrorism policy. So this is what response is in a nutshell. Response is a very broad category. Here various response involves, including there is something called quick reaction team or QRT, which comes ever ready in most of army units in vulnerable areas. Quick reaction team or QRT. QRT also there in certain CAPFs, also sometimes in certain police forces too. QRTs are very important, and for general knowledge purpose, I would like to mention that most people, when we go on the street, when we drive on the street or commute on the street, we see ambulances, or we see like fire brigades, and we let them go, we let them overtake us, because we understand that they are emergency vehicles. So that most people don't know that QRT also emergency vehicle. QRTs are more important than any ministerial convoy or any convoy of any politician. So we should remember that like you give way for ambulance, like you give way for fire brigades, you should always give way for the QRT vehicle. So whenever you go on the streets and you see something like QRT, that is quick reaction team, it's written on a military vehicle, or in a camouflage vehicle, maybe in a khaki colored or white colored or any colored vehicle of Indian agencies, which can be visible. If it is written QRT, you please give way and let it go forward, because this is quick reaction team. In most of the cases, something is happening somewhere and this team is going to respond. So response need to be faster, response need to be quick, and for that we need to give way for such QRT vehicle. So it's an civic sense point of view, from the point of view of national security. Whoever listening to this video, or whoever watching this video, and I would like to request, as you give way for ambulance, fire brigades and other emergency vehicles, please do give way, make way for QRT vehicles. Thank you. So this is what response is. We have learned which need to be coordinated, or in good words, it is coordinated response. Coming to another pillar, the third pillar. Third pillar, it actually focuses on strengthening India's capabilities. It is officially called in the document as PRA, that is A going for aggregating capacities. We have to aggregate our capacities. What kind of capacities can be? Capacities can be like modernization of police. We need to modernize our police forces. We need to train our police forces to respond better. We need to make QRT in most of the vulnerable areas. We need to train people in the force, how should they react in such terror events. So we need to modernize our police forces. For that, better training is necessary. For investigation purposes, forensic capabilities is very necessary. We do have established various CFL, that is Central Forensic Sciences Laboratory, or various SFLs, or State Forensic Sciences Laboratories too. Also various mobile forensics units we have developed at National Forensic Sciences University at Gandhinagar and Gujarat, and other campuses are doing very well in the directions of forensic science training and capability building of forensic science in terms of investigation. So these are the capabilities, including technology adaptations. We need to adapt various technology, like how to intercept the call in between terrorists, who if they are on certain communication, like in 26/11 attacks, we had intercepted phone calls of terrorists who were calling to our beautiful neighboring country from Mumbai. So we need such capabilities to more greater extent, even not only in terms of response, but also in terms of preventing. We need to intercept various encrypted communications which such evil forces use. We need standard SOPs. We need various SOPs, and we need to train our forces with SOPs. Particularly, there need some SOPs in coordinated missions and or coordinated operations when there is terrorist attack. Let's say there has been recently an attack in Jammu and Kashmir, where I think 2 people were killed by terrorists. So there has been deployment of RR, that is Rashtriya Rifles, and state forces and other units, including CRPFs. So how they coordinate? What is their SOP? Yes, every force has SOP each of its own, but when they are combined together, when they go on joint patrolling, joint mission, this is counterterrorism is a joint effort. So what should be the joint SOP? So we have seen in certain cases that in one video we have seen a certain DSP ranked or additional SP ranked officer were shouting at army personnel in a check post in Jammu and Kashmir. But yes, he did shout in a not good manner when visibly not in a good manner. I am not going in depth to any kind of particular incident, but it happened due to some miscommunication, due to lack of coordinated SOPs. Military have their own SOPs, police have their own mandate and SOPs for law and order. Even though they come for Kashmir, they would come under the central union government, like Ministry of Home Affairs control the Jammu Kashmir Police, and Ministry of Defense controls the Indian Army. However, in terms of coordinated standard operating procedures, sometimes their conflict arises. So we need to make better coordinated SOPs so that conflict at the time of operation doesn't arise. The hierarchy of command remains good. It remains intact in terms of operational standards. So for that, we need various other capacity building across various institutes, like various in various departments, like we have mentioned state police, CAPFs, army, and other even civil administration. How civil administration actually gonna respond to such incidents. So these are the capabilities which we call aggregating capabilities. How we can aggregate our capabilities. So this policy actually recognizes, this PRAHAAR policy actually recognizes that terrorism evolves. So the institutions fighting terrorism or institution involved in counterterrorism must also evolve. Like the terrorist attack during 90s are not same that of what has been happening in 2026. So we we see the differentiation, we see the use of technology, we see the use of various methodologies that the terrorists adopt from the technological age, various technological tools in terms of communication and in terms of execution. So how our forces also use technology, how our forces also evolve along the evolution of various modus operandi of terrorism activities. So these are what we call aggregating capabilities. I hope you understood what is actually aggregating capabilities. If you don't understand anything, any part of any lecture, please do comment, and I will try to make it explain in a more lucid way with more better examples, maybe more than one examples. So this is what aggregating capabilities is. Next, we are going to another pillar, that is human rights and rule of law based process. What is human rights and rule of law process? So these pillars actually deserve special attention. Counterterrorism, it cannot be successful if it undermines the constitution, if it undermines human rights. We have seen counterterrorism efforts by various countries, very much aggressive efforts, but later on we can find there are certain incidents of human rights violation. Even I must say during 80s or 90s, some human rights violation complaints also there in terms of Indian counter-terrorism operations. So in light of that, this document explicitly states that human rights investigation, arrest, prosecutions and trials should be conducted according to the law and with respect to human rights and by due process of rule of law, with respect to various guidelines, various UN guidelines and national guidelines of human rights. So this policy also actually outlines the legal framework which supports counterterrorism, including various legal framework like Unlawful Activities Prevention Act and various sections of new criminal law, that is BNS and BNSS, Bharatiya Sexa Adhinyam also. So these new criminal laws, that is BNS, BNSS and BSA, they also integrated into counterterrorism, into Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, also National Security Act. These all make various counterterrorism legal framework. So this balance between security and liberty of people, liberty of good people, liberty of common people is one of the actually defining features of a democratic society. So human right focus and the procedure according to the rule of law is utmost important in counterterrorism template, in counterterrorism procedures, including the prosecution procedures and justice procedures also. So this is what human right approach and rule of law. So let's move ahead to number 5th pillar, that is attenuating the conditions conducting to terrorism. This is a very long line, that attenuating the conditions conductive to terrorism. So how we can attenuate the condition? Attenuating is condition means actually the various conditions which enables terrorism. Particularly these documents and the attenuating condition means the favorable conditions which actually give rise to terrorism, like funding of terrorism, like radicalization, like the support, logistical supports to terrorism. So these are very much important. We have seen our agencies like National Investigation Agency from last 7-8 years, we have seen they have been aggressively dealing with incidents of terror financing in Kashmir and in the other parts of India too. They have been investigating various instances of terror financing and bank accounts with suspicious transactions are being actually monitored, and a lot more gangs or lot more cells were actually arrested or nabbed because through such investigations, and a lot more such terror funding network also neutralized. So this is the attenuating the capabilities. That means the attenuating the conditions, like the financial conditions or the funding condition of terrorism. Other funding can be like through narcotics. Narcotic trades is one of the another factors which contribute, or another source of funding for terrorism. So agencies having coordinated approach for anti-narcotics operations too, which prevents narco-terrorism. And in these conditions, to other conditions of terrorism can be radicalization also. So PRAHAAR actually recognizes terrorism often begins long before violence. So as we can see, we just from Bardai point of view, or from news, we see that terrorism is sometimes happens when there is an incident, when there is a terror incident or unfortunate incident. But actually, when we study it, we found that it actually happens much before that incident. The activities, it begins from the intent to the funding, to the procedure, to the all logistics, and all mechanisms through which the terror attacks. So it does happen years ahead. The activities of terrorism happens years ahead, and even months ahead from that particular event, from that particular violent event, or from the event of violent occurrence. So here we can also see radicalization, which takes place through various propaganda, various online propaganda, even various misinformation, and various extremist narrative, or even sometimes social isolations. So even this policy therefore actually advocates preventive measures such as community engagement, even education, youth outreach, rehab and de-radicalization initiatives, including civil society alongside various government institutions, which this policy advocates to integrate and prevents does to prevent radicalization. So attenuating conditions favorable to terrorism, here we have found first the funding agency or the funding network, how we should destabilize it, including the narco-terrorism network. And then we have the supporting that officially now Indian security agencies called OGW, that is overground worker. Who are OGW? Overground worker. Overground workers are those who are terrorist sympathizers, or who help the terrorists in various means, through financial supports, through logistics, or through maybe handling of operations, and sometimes even sympathizing them, being supporting them morally. So these in the Indian security agencies having primary focus also with these overground workers, even though they may not be people with criminal background, or they may not be actually doing the act of terrorism. They are actually supporting through various means, and they are actually, in terms of Indian counter-terrorism, they are called OGW, that is overground worker. These are official terms, and actually there are various lists and hunt for overground workers, and the security agencies monitor the overground workers, and this has been a very good effort by security agencies in India, particularly in Jammu and Kashmir context, to look into the matter of overground workers. So this is what lastly we have read about, we have studied about the radicalization, which actually says that coordinated effort like community engagement and education, also rehab and the radicalization initiatives are needed, with coordination of various agencies to prevent to attenuate the conditions of terrorism. So this is what attenuating conditions of terror activities. Next, coming to the sixth pillar of counterterrorism in this national counterterrorism document, that is aligning and shaping the international efforts. How we can align, how India can align with international efforts, how India can go with various international like from UN to EU, Interpol, even various other friendly countries or like-minded countries, how we can cooperate with these agencies, with international agencies, as well as with various countries. As terrorism today is cross-border. Even financing of terrorism can happen in one country, recruitment may happen online, and planning may happen elsewhere, and execution may take place in another country. So you say in this stage 4 or 5 countries got involved, from uh, financing to recruitment to planning to execution. So PRAHAAR, this counterterrorism theory, therefore stresses international cooperation through intelligence sharing, through maybe legal assistance, and even through extradition mechanisms, and collaboration with multilateral organizations like the Interpol, various UN agencies, EU, and there is Asian Pol also. So this is what international cooperation is, and with various countries, like we have seen that various in the recent news we have found that various people from UAE, particularly once Dubai was a safe haven for criminals, even for terrorists of South Asia, particularly from India. People do such activities in India, and they just fly away to Dubai. So they get engaged in criminal networks or organized criminal groups, and which are even linked to terrorism, even narco-terrorism, terrorism funding, etc. But lately India and UAE have developed a various extradition framework. We had good relations, and we can see that no more people with serious criminal background or serious criminal activities can operate from Dubai. They are being extradited, who are criminal or who are criminal in India, either terrorism, either who are involving terrorist activities involving in terrorist activities against India, or any criminal activities against India. They are being one by one, they are being deported to India from UAE. So there has been a good cooperation between India and UAE in this regard. With some other countries also we are building such a relationship, but this is a template in between India and UAE, how counterterrorism cooperation should be. So this is what all about international cooperation. Lastly, I would like to go with the another R. That is, we have from PRAHAAR, PRAHAA, we have done, and there's coming another R, the last R, that is recovery and resilience through a whole of society approach. So we gotta learn this point, or this pillar goes with the recovery process of the whole society. Resilience, how society resilience shows resilience through the societal, the society as a whole approach, how society reacts with it. So this is the most unique pillar in the PRAHAAR document. PRAHAAR actually argues that counterterrorism is not solely responsible for security agencies. It is just not only by the security agencies. It's not just a security operation. Government, various departments, police, emergency responders, even health professionals, also educators, sometimes community leaders, and citizens all have roles to play in preventing terrorism and helping communities to recover if any attacks happens. So this whole of society approach, this recognize the resilience is built across society, not only within security institutions. So resilience should not be only within the security institution. It should not be only on police. It shouldn't be only on the army, military, or CFF or any other security agency. It should be within the society as a whole. For example, I have given one example in the last lecture, that terrorism is something, it is from data we could see that terrorism takes less life than road accidents. Data shows that people die more out of road accident than terror incidents. But we see less people are aware, or people are less afraid of road accidents than acts of terrorism. Why so? Because the success of terrorism is not on the attack, on the casualty. It lies on the terror. The word terrorism has a very big meaning. Therefore, there is no universal definition of terrorism. It actually terrorizes people. It creates fear. I have given an example of an Israeli who were an Israeli expert. His name is Bose Gaynor. I think, if I could remember his name well, Professor Bose Gaynor of Reichman University and International Institute of Counter-Terrorism in Israel. He after one terror incident, as terrorism expert or counter-terror expert, a prominent US media interviewed him, like what was he doing during that attack, or just after the attack. And he replied in a very articulate way. His response got a big meaning with respect to counterterrorism. He said, yeah, after the attack, I was playing basketball. So it maybe you can see, this is what? There is a terrorist attack and he is going to play basketball after that? No way. You can sometimes see from a point of he is insensitive, he is not feeling anything. No, it is not that way. Yes, if there is attack, we must go through the security protocol. If the security personnel says that don't go to that place which may be vulnerable, you don't go. You go with all the checkings which is mandatory by security personnel, because there may be still a lot more vulnerable elements, which a lot more unwanted elements which can be moving around that particular area. But for that attack, you don't compromise your daily routine. You don't compromise whatever you are working. You are going to school, you are going to university, you are going to office, or whatever business you are doing. Don't shut your business. Don't shut down your shop. Don't shut down supermarkets, and don't do anything through which terrorism becomes successful. You just go and try to normalize your daily life. And that is how terrorism cannot spread. This is the effort from your side. If you successful in that area, their terrorism fails. But if you are afraid, if you keep a fear in your heart and go outside, if you limit your movement due to some attacks, it becomes like terror becomes successful. So this is what whole of society approach, and we have gone with all the 7 pillars of terrorism. If I would like to say it again, if I may, it is first pillar is prevention of terror attacks, that we have learned that intelligence agency is primary agency which is responsible for prevention of terror attacks. It is the first line of defense in India in terms of prevention. Next come response or coordinated response. The third pillar is aggregating capabilities of security persons and capability of institutions. Next, number 4 is human rights and rule-based processes. The counterterrorism processes should be as according to the Indian constitutions and according to the standards of human rights principles. Next is attenuating conditions conducting to terrorism, conditions like terror funding, like radicalizations, like narco-terrorism, and even we have mentioned about overground workers, how we can control them, how we can limit them. Sixth pillar is aligning and shaping the international efforts, how we can coordinate with other countries and other international agencies for developing a better coordinating mechanism. We have gone with the example of the recent development in India and UAE relations in terms of extradition. So lastly, we have found that recovery and resilience through whole of society approach. So here we have learned how counterterrorism is not just about the reaction of security forces, it is also of the whole society and how the society should respond if such incidents happens, and how terror dominates with fear, and how we shouldn't give a chance to terrorism to become successful. So this is what PRAHAAR is, and if we go with why we need PRAHAAR, we can see various emerging threats are there. Like this documents identifies various evolving threats that India must prepare for, like there are drone-enabled attacks, there are cyber terrorism, there are AI or artificial intelligence which was being misused for propaganda. There are platforms of encrypted messaging which terrorist uses, and even terror financing through digital technologies like blockchain and cryptocurrencies, how our agencies and or how the society respond to that. There is dark web communications, and even chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear explosive and drones like CBRN and ED. So these are the risks, these are the emerging threats that this PRAHAAR documents is designed, and it is like want to integrate everything to counter such emerging threats. So why PRAHAAR now? If we come to the last point, why PRAHAAR? PRAHAAR is significant because it shifts India's approach from being primarily reactive to a more preventive and integrated counterterrorism mechanism. Actually, rather than focusing only on the operation after an attack, this PRAHAAR counterterrorism policy and strategy, it emphasizes on partially on prevention, then on intelligence, on technology, on coordination among forces and other with civil society organization, also coordinating with the elements of society also, with various capacity building and community engagement, as well as international partnerships. So this broader approach reflects the reality of modern terrorism, or how we should handle, how we should react to modern terrorism. So these all elements in this policy reflects the reality actually. Various challenges ahead. This policy, no policy actually is successful because it is written so good in paper. Its success actually depends on the implementation of the policy. So there are various question remains, like whether the coordination between agencies are continuous, or is it just operation based. So we need to answer such questions. Forces need to tackle such questions. Forces need to go on developing state level capacity. Do states have certain capabilities, like Jammu Kashmir, the state administration, and let's say a northeast state administration have better counterterrorism capabilities, but whether Goa police having the same capabilities, whether let's say Haryana police having this same capabilities, let's say whether Odisha police having the same capabilities at the state level, that's a matter of question. Technology adaptation, that this we have discussed, regular training, public awareness, and most importantly, we have to measure the outcome over time, how we have measure or feedback mechanisms. Who will feedback? The public will feedback? I don't think so. In counterterrorism effort, the public or media will feedback. Yes, their feedback is important, but there should be institutionalized feedback system. There should be a measure system or assessment system, how we will assess our counterterrorism efforts with respect to various other countries. So this document itself actually highlights the importance of sustained institutional strengthening. It highlights on legal updates. It highlights on continued cooperation to meet various future challenges. So that's it. In conclusion, what can we say? We can conclude that in today's national security life, we studied about PRAHAAR, and we can say that PRAHAAR is more than a counterterrorism document. It is actually blueprint for to see how India seeks to protect its people while preventing domestic, while actually preserving domestic values. How India goes with its counterterrorism strategy while sticking to values of society. This document actually recognizes that modern terrorism cannot be defeated by force alone. The counterterrorism success actually requires intelligence, technology, coordination, resilient institutions, even informed citizens, and also adherence to the rule of law. So whether PRAHAAR will achieve all these objectives, it will depend on how effectively it is implemented across the country. But it actually, this document undoubtedly, it makes an important step towards a more coordinated and future-oriented counterterrorism framework. So that's all. Thank you for joining me on National Security Life 06. If you find this document, or if you find the discussion on the document useful, please like, share, and comment. Also subscribe to Gyanonymous School for more such lectures on national security and strategic affairs, on policing, internal security, national security, and counterterrorism, as well as in public administration. Anyway, if you have interest in some other topics in internal security, or in counterterrorism, on the domain, you actually, our regular viewers have actually learned what domain I can talk more, or we can discuss in a more informed way. You can please write in the comment box, and I will try to discuss that on our next lectures. So until next time, Jai Hind, Bande Mataram.